The greatest happiness is to know the source of unhappiness. The greatest joy that a man can experience is victory over himself. Everyone thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing himself. The two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. The most important knowledge is that which guides the way you lead your life. All violence consists in some people forcing others, under threat of suffering or death, to do what they do not want to do. All the variety, all the charm, all the beauty of life is made up of light and shadow. The only thing that we know is that we know nothing, and that is the highest flight of human wisdom. Happiness is not a life without pain, but rather a life in which the pain is traded for a worthy cause. All happy families resemble one another, each unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. To love life is to love God. Harder and more blessed than all else is to love this life in one's sufferings, in undeserved sufferings. If you make it a habit not to blame others, you will feel the growth of the ability to love in your soul, and you will see the growth of goodness in your life. Seize the moments of happiness, love and be loved. That is the only reality in the world, all else is folly. It is the one thing we are interested in here. To be good and lead a good life means to give to others more than one takes from them. Everything comes in time to him who knows how to wait. Wrong does not cease to be wrong because the majority share in it. Only people who are capable of loving strongly can also suffer great sorrow, but this same necessity of loving serves to counteract their grief and heals them. I think if it is true that there are as many minds as there are heads, then there are as many kinds of love as there are hearts. I've always loved you, and when you love someone, you love the whole person, just as he or she is, and not as you would like them to be. If you want to be happy, try only to please God, not people. Let people judge me as they please, I can deceive them, but I cannot deceive myself. And he suddenly understood that the disgust which he had lately felt toward everybody, was disgust with himself. I often think that men don't understand what is noble and what is ignorant, though they always talk about it. He soon felt that the fulfillment of his desires gave him only one grain of the mountain of happiness he had expected. No sort of activity is likely to be lasting if it is not founded on self-interest. That's a universal principle, a philosophical principle. Nothing does harm if one's mind is at peace. Lose an hour and you cannot catch up in a year. The strength of women comes from the fact that psychology cannot explain us. Men can be analyzed, women merely adored. Man is flowing and changing, the universe is flowing and changing. And, therefore, there is no static destiny carved in stone for him. If you want to be happy, forgive. Forgiveness frees the soul from the chains of anger and resentment. Fate often puts all the material for happiness and prosperity into a man's hands just to see how miserable he can make himself with them. Watch your thoughts, they become words. Watch your words, they become actions. Watch your actions, they become habits. Watch your habits, they become character. Watch your character, it becomes your destiny. Fate is most truly understood not as a concourse of chance events, but as an excess of life occasions fundamentally significant in themselves. Jealousy is a disease, love is a healthy condition. The immature mind often mistakes one for the other, or assumes that the greater the love, the greater the jealousy. In fact, they are almost incompatible, one emotion hardly leaves room for the other. True strength lies in submission, which permits one to dedicate his life, through devotion, to something beyond himself. The greatest challenge of life is to love someone who has hurt you. To live is to suffer, to survive is to find some meaning in the suffering. True peace is not merely the absence of tension, it is the presence of justice. Anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. The most important knowledge we can acquire is the knowledge of how to love. Revenge does not quench your thirst, it only amplifies your hunger. Pay bad people with your goodness, fight their hatred with your kindness. Even if you do not achieve victory over other people, you will conquer yourself. Anything is better than lies and deceit. Happiness does not depend on outward things, but on the way we see them. Is it really possible to tell someone else what one feels? All great literature is one of two stories: a man goes on a journey or a stranger comes to town. What counts in making a happy marriage is not so much how compatible you are but how you deal with incompatibility. But the law of loving others could not be discovered by reason, because it is unreasonable. If we admit that human life can be ruled by reason, then all possibility of life is destroyed. Man cannot possess anything as long as he fears death. But to him who does not fear it, everything belongs. If there was no suffering, man would not know his limits, would not know himself. Which is worse? The wolf who cries before eating the lamb, or the wolf who does not? All the diversity, all the charm, and all the beauty of life are made up of light and shade. How can one be well, when one suffers morally? To tell the truth is very difficult, and young people are rarely capable of it. Some mathematician said, "Pleasure lies not in discovering truth, but in seeking it." He stepped down, trying not to look long at her, as if she were the sun, yet he saw her, like the sun, even without looking. Respect was invented to cover the empty place where love should be. One of the first conditions of happiness is that the link between man and nature shall not be broken. There is something in the human spirit that will survive and prevail. There is a tiny and brilliant light burning in the heart of man that will not go out no matter how dark the world becomes. Boredom, the desire for desires. People try to do all sorts of clever and difficult things to improve life instead of doing the simplest, easiest thing, refusing to participate in activities that make life bad.